Hey guys, Bart here. Just got back from last weekend in Vegas at the Las Vegas Open for 2022. It was an absolute blast. Me and two of my other buddies went, and my fiance went with me as well. We had a fantastic time. Everything was great. Only complaints was the hotel was a little out of date, but other than that, man, it was a really fun place. Had a really good time. So I brought a Hallowheart list to the LVO. And I was trying my best not to run off the back of Stormcast because I figured it was going to be really strong, and I really didn't want to run Fulminators or the Long Strikes. So I just went with different chiefs. So I brought a bunch of Iron Drakes. So yeah, here was my list. So I brought a 230s of Iron Drakes, 10 Longbeards, 10 Dread Spears, just help me cap points. I brought a Battle Mage of Gur. So that Battle Mage gets +2 to cast at all times, pretty much. I had multiple times in the tournament where I was casting an endless spell, so I get an additional +1 for endless spells for cities, and then you're looking at almost a +8 or +9 if you rolled a 5 or 6 on your channel. I also had the Celestial Hurricanum, which was normally my channel point, and a Rune Lord with the Arcane Tome. Yeah, I know I'm a terrible human being. I put an Arcane Tome on my anti-magic hating dwarf. And then I also took Sisters of the Thorn, and the reason I take Sisters is because realistically there are 6 spells that I want to get off in this list every single turn if I can. So when I have 4 casters, I cast 8 spells, so I can hopefully shoot for getting off 6 spells. So because one's going to be channeling, and the channeling one, normally they're going to stop those spells. They save their spells for that, and that's kind of their best chance to dispel stuff, especially if you roll like a 4 or 5. Then you're looking at 4 or 5 bonus to cast, plus the Hurricanum bonus. People are just not even rolling at any of the other spells. So yeah, like I said, the tournament was great. They had a really good terrain. Met with a bunch of awesome people. So the first tag or battle plan was First Blood. We just got the weird backwards diagonal deployment, as you can kind of see on the screen, and it's just a hold 1, hold 2, oh more, and then going from there. You also get extra command points, which really doesn't play into the game very often. So I played a Bone Splitterz list, the only Bone Splitterz list ran by Blade, which was a gorgeous army. He basically had the can't remember what they're called, the Raptorixes from Chaos, and that's what they were riding. It looked really cool. He painted them really well, and he had an awesome display board. So he ran a Wargog Prophet, and I think it was like 5 Savage big bosses. It was kind of hilarious. So it's just this big pile of heroes running together, which was pretty funny. He also had 2 5-mans of Savage Boar Boys, and then a 10-man of Savage Boar Boys. He also had a 4-man Savage Big Stabbers further towards the back, and then a 10-man Boar Boys Maniacs. He also had a Rogue Idol too, as kind of like his centerpiece. So that game ended up 13-28 to me. He basically, I'm going to go back to the map a little bit, but basically, so the 2 terrain pieces in the middle were like line of sight blocking, so he pretty much piled on towards that middle objective. So I towed in to the other 2 objectives and shot off the caster, the Prophet, that can do all the mortal wounds. So I shot him off, and I shot off a bunch of the Boar Boys. I think I killed all but like 2 in the big 10-man unit, and maybe all but 2 or 3 in a 5-man unit. Just buffing, taking first turn. I really just didn't want to eat the first turn charges from him. And like I said, capped all 3 of the points. From that point in time, he struck back, but he just didn't have enough output with that. He kept tagging stuff, but with me just kind of teleporting and moving around, and I kind of strung out my units a little bit, so I would pull and then kind of get myself out of combat from pulling from the front of the unit of Iron Drakes, and just continually trying to use command points to rally and Life Swarm to get me more and more guys, I basically was just able to kind of control the meta board. And Savage Boar Boys aren't really the greatest army right now, especially with this much shooting output. They go down pretty quick. So it was a pretty standard, or pretty given win for me, getting 28 points to his 13. But again, he played really well. It's just the army just doesn't hit hard enough for not having enough armor saves, basically. And him only getting the ward save in the combat phase. Now, if he had in the shooting phase as well, and he was able to wah and get through both of those phases, I think he would have been in a lot better spot. So the second round was Power Struggle, which is the 5 points, and I played against a Seraphon player, David. And this is another score 1, score 2, score more. But you got to hold them for 2 turns consecutively. And his list was a Skink Priest, another Skink Star Priest, a Stegodon Skink Chief, Lord Croak, Astrolith Bearer, 2 Stegodons, the Saurus Guard, and a Bastillodon with Solar Engine. So he had about as much shooting as I did. Having those 2 30-man units is just kind of strong sometimes, because what I'll do is I was taking first turn a lot of the times, which I probably shouldn't in a normal game. But what I was doing is I was putting one up front, giving it all the buffs. So it was 2s to hit, 2s to wound, re-rolling 1s. It had not Arcane Shield, but Mystic Shield a lot of times. So it's on a 3-up save, 3-up ignoring Rend 1 against shooting. And then in melee combat, whenever they take a wound from an attack, there's on a 4+, they do a mortal wound back if I had all the buffs on them. So they were pretty strong. So they ended up holding up pretty good. I did a decent amount of damage with my spells turn 2, I believe, and killed 5 of his Saurus Guard with Chain Lightning and a couple other spells. So I kind of whittled him down, and then what I did is I moved in to try to kill Croak. And over-invested into killing Croak, but I shot off the last Saurus Guard and then shot, a decent amount into Croak. I think he needed to roll all 3 1s in order for Croak to live. But I really just didn't want to take the risk of Croak living. I mean, that was a huge investment from my point. And then I just slowly started removing stuff off the board. I also, during that same turn, I shot Croak off. I killed one of the Skinks and left the other one with 1 wound, which was kind of unlucky that I left him with 1 wound, because I'm all out attacking, plus I got the Hurricanum, so I'm still hitting on 2s. I just one of those things where you rolled a lot of 1s, you know what I mean? Sometimes it just happens. But again, the game was pretty close though. It ended 22-26, and it was really enjoyable. I got a little scared. I didn't know. I mean, I knew Croak was pretty good at doing some damage, but I left a few of my units. Like you can see it here, so ignore this Mick Ultra can. But you can see I kind of put everyone around this 1 stone in the middle, forgetting about the ability for it to do a ton of mortal wounds. So as you can kind of see here, what I'll eventually do is teleport this big red block to the middle and just hold the middle, and he burnt the number 1 objective. So these Dread Spears eventually got around to the backside because he's more focused on the other stuff. But again, I took a ton of mortal wounds in one phase. I took 2 on my general, 1 on my adjutant. I think 1 on these guys over here because they were closer or something. I can't remember. But when he cast the spell to see how many targets he hit, he rolled the big 6, and so it just started, murdering things left and right. But like I said, really fun game, and to play against. And I think I failed every one of my ignores because I do ignore spells on a 5-up. But like I said, good game. Fun to play against. And then we played round 3. Round 3 is the Vice, and I pulled Dom, who was playing Sylvaneth Gnarlroot. And the whole thing in this game is I ended up giving him turn 1, I believe, because we just don't interact turn 1. And then I figured I'd start moving and teleporting from that, and if I get the double turn, I basically set up my bridge in a way that if I get the double turn, I can teleport the second unit of Drakes as well. So Dom made a mistake, and let me see if I can pull it up. Oh, let me get to his list first, sorry. So he took a Branch Wraith, a Tree Lord Ancient, a Spirit of Durthu, and a Warsong Revenant. Excuse me. Sorry, it's formatted wrong. And he took 3 5-man units of Tree Revenants, 6 Kurnoth Hunters, 1 Tree Lord, and Shackles, Spell Portal, and Hive. Shackles really doesn't do anything against me, so it's really just dealing with Spell Portal and Hive. So this is how he ended up deploying. So he's pretty far back. I did the same thing. If you look over here, this little set of trees right here, he ended up deploying his battle line unit a little too close right there. So these Iron Drakes here were able to walk and shoot, and it was only like 5 or 6 of them, but it was enough to where I shot from the Hurricane first and then from them. And I could have done either way, but if I shot from them first, there's a chance that the Hurricane couldn't shoot because the woods. But he had one on the edge of the woods, so I could still see it. So I got to kill a battle line, or kill one of those units pretty early on, so then I only had to deal with 2, which was really nice. Dom's army was gorgeous. You can kind of see in the top right the tray that he had. But I mean, he had such a cool army. The dice basically just did not want to give him the game. At one point in time, that rock right here, you can see, I believe it was turn 2. I think it was top of 2. So he won roll off. So he went second, or first, second turn. So top of 2, he put all of his monsters kind of right here. I don't know if you can see my cursor, but right above this unit is a battle line. And my whole, I had a whole unit of Iron Drakes up here, completely buffed. But they'll still take a decent chunk of damage, especially when you got 3 monsters coming in. So he rolled his first charge, and he's got +3 to charge. He was 10 inches away, so he rolled a 6. So he failed it, re-rolled it, failed at no, excuse me. He was 9 inches away, so he only needed I think it was a 5 or a 6. It was bad. He just failed it twice in a row, and then it was a 7. That is what he needed on the dice. And then the other one needed an 8 on the dice. Failed that, and then the third one he just elected not to charge with it because he didn't want to send just one in because it's just going to get shot off. Even with the crazy amount of save buffing that these guys can do, I think they're like +3 to save or something insane because he also put a Wildwood right there. It's just not worth it. So he chose not to charge. Basically, then I teleported the second. I dispelled mine, teleported the second unit over. I split shots between 2 targets. He chose to all-out defense the target that he wanted to keep alive. And then the second unit that was fully buffed, that was the unbuffed unit, then the fully buffed unit choose to split shots between the other 2, and that finished off those 2 monsters, and then the Hurricane finished off the one that he all-out defensed. So at that point in time, it was a pretty rough game for him. I also think we killed quite a bit of the Kurnoth Hunters on the first teleport because he teleported them over there as well, and I think I killed 5 out of 6, which he failed, I think, like 21 saves on like a 3-up because he's got so many save tagging. Even my 2 Ren doesn't cut into it, and it was kind of insane. So the dice were just basically, I'm not gonna say giving me the game, but it was pretty rough. I mean, it didn't matter how much he was playing great tactically, but the dice were just not cutting it for him. It was a tough game for him. But yeah, so here's basically where we were at the end of turn 3, I believe. So, you know, after turn 3, the game was just kind of rough at the moment, and he's basically done. But again, after the 3rd round, I was feeling pretty good. I hadn't dropped a single battle tactic. I had scored pretty decent on points. I wasn't amazing, but the tiebreaker was battle tactics. So I was feeling really good going into day 2. Going into the 4th round, I pulled against Daughters of Khaine. I went and did some stuff around town, and they started 30 minutes early. The Tia was phenomenal. He basically pushed back the time 30 minutes, but I got there, and who was ready to play was already ready to play. And it was kind of, you know, just waiting on me. So that was Tectonic Interference. And that's where there's an alpha objective that's worth an additional point. So, you know, you basically dice off and see which one's worth the additional point. So he's playing Daughters of Khaine, Hagg. He had Bloodrack Medusa, Marathi Khaine, and the Shadow Queen. 20 block of Witch Elves times 2, and then 15 Bloodstalkers, and 5 Heartrenders. So this was the end of turn 1. He had set his Heartrenders up here, and Where I really screwed up here was this unit, moving them around to here. What I should have done in hindsight was this red unit should be where this unit is and the other unit should be sitting down here. I really wanted this extra point here. And in the end, the Longbeards got it, and I didn't even need to move the Iron Drakes here. So, I failed to do any wounds to Morathi because I failed the 20-hit shot. And then it basically turned it over to him. So this is after his turn 1. So like I said, I put Morathi too close. He finally soured Morathi and just picked that unit up. Or actually, sorry, this is after my turn 2. And it just got me pretty good. Now we did make a mistake. If you can see all the sisters in the back, the bow snakes, they garrisoned into this terrain piece here, but every model has to be within 6 inches of the terrain piece, and we were playing it as any model had to be within 6 inches of the terrain piece. So we just played that improperly. But you know, you live and you learn. You know, if I go to a tournament and don't learn anything, I feel like it was just almost a waste of time sometimes. You know what I mean? You're there to have fun, and there's always going to be someone that knows more than you. You know what I mean? So just have a good time, do everything you can. In the end of this game, I ended up losing. I only dropped 1 battle tactic. Those Dread Spears kept my battle line alive, and I ended up putting him on the far side of the rock. And he was basically choosing on. He could have got rid of my battle line, but he also would have dropped a tactic, so he just decided to leave them alone. I might have been able to get another battle tactic, but we kind of basically talked it out after the end of I think it was the 4th turn. But I might have been able to get Savage Spearhead. I just we actually didn't even check, so it just depends, you know. But yeah, it was a really good game. He was a really good player. Again, I always end up killing myself by going too aggressive, and this was like a primary example of just me going slightly too aggressive on this. But again, you live and you learn. I would have been fine with Morathi picking up the Longbeards. It's not a big deal. But picking up a whole unit here, and not being able to do my mortal wound trick back to her because she only takes 3 wounds a turn. One funny thing that happened was I did get behind on her wounds, but then he misgassed and took 3 mortal wounds, which was like the most comical thing ever, which is actually what helped me kill her to get the 4th battle tactic of bring it down, which was pretty comical. But again, great game. So for the final game, I played Anthony Trentinelli in Survival of the Fittest, and he was running a Slaves to Darkness list, Knights of the Empty Throne. So he had 6 Vanguard, Sorcerer Lord, Bellicor, Chaos Lord, 20 Warriors, 20 Marauders, 16 Iron Golems, and 9 Untamed Beasts. I ended up losing 19 to 29. So I took first turn, and that was the only time I had priority the whole entire game. We kept our turns 1, 2, or I go, you go the entire game, other than maybe turn 5 or turn 4, turn 5. He might have taken the turn. Can't remember which. But basically, the Chaos Warriors and the trees, I don't even know why I bothered shooting at them. I just couldn't do much of anything. And then down here, these trees ended up just indefinitely blocking me from shooting Bellicor or even this unit here with any real effect. I ended up shooting the entire unit of Vanguard off at one point in time once I get rid of the hero that was giving them the +1 to save, which was my big win. It's kind of great, which actually would have made the game 1 point closer because that was an alpha or a predator. But I basically losing turn 3 and having so much invested over here, I really wasn't thinking about losing that objective, right? So I also thought I could teleport over, but because of the way this terrain was set up, it just put me always within 3 inches, so I couldn't see anything. And then when I did kill the Vanguard, turn 6, they came on the board right here in the trees, or turn 5, excuse me, in the trees. So I couldn't do anything over there, nor could I recapture the 2nd point. Or actually, I might have captured the 2nd point, but it just wasn't enough. But anyways, it ended in it was a very good game, and I learned a lot. Again, there's no use shooting at Chaos Warriors. I don't know why I was so worried about them. I think it's just because I played in other editions where Warriors were pretty good. But they just don't have enough output. They're not going to do anything. I can literally let them beat the crap out of Iron Drakes all day long. I've got a 4-up save. He's not going to kill enough for it even ever to matter. And I honestly should have walked him up or even thought about charging. You know what I mean? But it is what it is. You know, like I said, you live and you learn. Other than that, I mean, the tournament was fantastic. Like I said, I went 3-2. I didn't drop but one battle tactic, so I ended up 34th place, which I was really proud of. My goal was to go 3-2, and to go 3-2 and only drop one battle tactic and not drop a single grand strategy. I felt very good about it, even with my massive mistakes, like games 4 and 5, and you know, fixing those, like the things that I did, and you know, just thinking a little bit about them. I could have definitely gone 4-0 or you know 4-1 or even 5-0 in this tournament, just depending on who I was playing for, because it would obviously change a lot of things. And I got a couple good compliments. You know, one of the things that I really liked was the Daughters of Khaine player that I lost to. He said, you know, my micro with my characters was fantastic. So, you know, he's here trying to chase them down with Marathi and Witch Elves and all kinds of stuff. And I basically would give him one model a turn. You know, it's like, which one do you want to charge? Because you get one. That's why I kept that photo. I don't know if you can see, but basically he gets to choose. It's like, no matter where he comes in here, he's going to get either the unit or one of the heroes, because I'll be able to redeploy and stay out of combat and just run away. Plus I had Soul Scream Bridge, and teleporting around was very good. And then playing against Anthony here was, again, a very fun game. And he was literally him and Han all game about how to play against these Iron Drakes, especially with the 2 units. Being a 1-drop gives me a real big advantage. I'm going to try it out this weekend with a 2-drop in Ohio, so it'll be different. We'll see. And hopefully I'll put another video together with maybe a little more information in it, because I kind of was taking pictures quick. But yeah, overall conclusions for LVO, man. The player base was amazing. Everybody that I met was just awesome. And the terrain was amazing. They had the correct amount of terrain. It was fully painted. Again, like I said, Garrison is every model within 6. I honestly thought going into this tournament you had to be wholly within 3 to Garrison. So I kind of really just put that to the back of my mind and ignored it. And yeah, don't stand too close to Marathi. I mean, she's just going to murder everything, or should I say Shadow Queen. Also, I did not know that the Grudge Hammer shoots twice if the unit doesn't move. Yeah, the guy that brought 60% of the Iron Drakes to LVO did not know one of my own rules. So I felt like an idiot. It makes a big difference, you know what I mean? Especially that Ren 3 Grudge Hammer going and shooting twice. And then finally, the table setup is extremely important. On my last game, I just kind of gave it to him because I don't really like setting up the terrain. And if you look back on it, you can kind of see that there's not a lot of great places for me to teleport. Even if I had been able to bridge, there was nowhere to put without dealing with stuff. And I have a few different shenanigans that I could do, especially getting out in front. I could definitely get a unit, you know, almost behind him. But just because the way the terrain was, I just found myself in a rough spot. And so next time, that's going to be one of the things that I end up doing. It is, again, an objective game. It's not about killing the enemy's toys. It's all about winning those points. So sometimes I forget that. Just want to kill the big bad monster on the other side of the table. But yeah, it was really awesome to learn. And like I said, I'm glad that I got to play such great players. And I had my buddies that came with me. They had a great time as well. They were learning a ton, and one of them, he hadn't even played but maybe 2 games before he went to the LVO. And he was like, holy crap, I can do this, and I can do this, and I can do this. And, you know, turn 1, he got to shoot a couple dragons off the board with Cruel Boys, and he really enjoyed it. And he wasn't playing a very competitive Cruel Boys list, but, you know, he really enjoyed shooting those giant trees, basically. But yeah, like I said, it was a great tournament, and I really enjoyed it. And yeah, until next time, thanks for watching.